Week 28, day 2, and the quality that we're developing this week is motivation. What is it that motivates you? And the story this week is one that we've done before, the railroad. And it's many years ago on an extremely hot day, a group of men were working on the roadbed of the railroad when they were interrupted by a slow-moving train. The train ground to a stop, and a window in the last car, which incidentally was air-conditioned and custom-made, was raised. A booming, friendly voice called out, "Dave, is that you?" Dave Anderson, the crew chief, called back, "Sure is, Jim, and it's really good to see you." With that pleasant exchange, Dave Anderson was invited to join Jim Murphy, the president of the railroad, for a visit. For over an hour, the men exchanged pleasantries and then shook hands warmly as the train pulled out. Dave Anderson's crew immediately surrounded him, and everyone expressed astonishment that he knew Jim Murphy, the president of the railroad. Dave then explained that 20 years earlier, he and Jim Murphy had started to work for the railroad for the same day. One of the men, half jokingly, half serious, asked Dave why he was out working in the hot sun and Jim Murphy had gotten to be president. Rather wistfully, Dave explained, 23 years ago, I went to work for $1.75 an hour, and Jim Murphy went to work for the railroad. Why do you go to work? If you're going to work for $1.75 an hour, then I promise you're going to make $1.75 an hour the rest of your life. If you go to work to improve the situation, if you go to work, if you take a job coaching in order to make money, and I'm going to take a job because I make more money, money is never a good, positive motive. Money can buy you a house. Money cannot buy you happiness. Money can buy you a house, but it can't buy you a home. Money can buy you a bed, but it can't buy you a good night's sleep. Money can buy you pleasure, but never happiness. And so many people are trying to make so much money. And I know exactly what you're talking about, because we were raised very poor. And I always felt like, boy, if I just had enough money, I would be happy. When I was young, real young, I had two goals in life, two things that I really wanted to get. I wanted to be able to go to the barber every week and get a haircut. When I was a kid, my mom cut her hair. Now, you can imagine exactly what kind of haircuts those were. And we did get made fun of because all she did was set a bowl on top of your head and went around it. And I always said, the second thing I want to do is I want to be able to buy a pair of shoes. We wore back then what you call brogans. And brogans were old lace-up type boots, cumbersome, heavy. They were work shoes. And I always said I wanted to buy all these shoes. Well, you see what happened to that first one. I don't have to worry about getting a haircut anymore. Mary cuts my hair. I've got probably 30 pair of shoes. And it finally dawned on me, you can't wear but one pair a day. Doesn't do you any good. I don't care how many pair of shoes you have. So that's the biggest waste of time. See, Jim Murphy went to work to make the railroad better. And the railroad made him better. Dave Anderson went to work for money. In 1981, we were 7-3 at Converse Judson. Frank Arnold was the head coach. I was an assistant coach. D.W. Rutledge was an assistant coach. Jim Rackley, John Snowden, Sylvester Perez were all assistant coaches. And when the season ended, we sat down and we said, okay, we're not in the playoffs. Why aren't we in the playoffs? Because the first thing you got to do is you got to find out what's wrong with you. Every year we had a lock-in, and the first thing we did on the lock-in is we said, where are we? And we were very honest. We would always answer, here's where we are. Where do we want to go was the second question, and number 3 was, how do you get there? So we did the same thing. We couldn't make the kids do it and not be hypocrites. And so we said, where are we? And not one single coach on that staff mentioned football or physical qualities. We said the reason we're not in the playoffs is we've got a poor self-image. These kids don't believe they can beat Churchill. We have cliques on this football team. We are a very diverse school, and what we have is we've got groups of every kind. We've got the African American, the Mexican American, we've got the cowboys, we got the rich country club people, we got the apartment, tenement people. We've got every kind of group that there is. They don't like each other. They don't respect each other. We don't have, our leadership is negative. And we finished and we said, okay, what are we doing about it? Nothing. Okay, so if we go into our off season and we do the exact same thing that we did last year, lift weights, run, throw, do the technical stuff and all that, what's going to be different? Nothing. One of the definitions of insanity is keep doing what you've been doing and expect different results. So we said, you know what we need to do? We need to teach attitude. We need to teach character. We need to teach responsibility. We need to teach these lessons on mental training. Our problems are mental. They're not physical. So we said, okay, we do what all the coaches do. We'll find somebody doing it and we'll copy their program and then do just like we did with offense, defense, kicking, just find out what somebody else is doing and copy it. So we began. This was right after the end of the season in November. And from November until Christmas, we did everything we could to find out any high school, college, or professional football team that was working with the mental and actually had a curriculum to teach it. There were none. 0. Not one. So we said, well, what about a mental health clinic? Those people teach mental health. Maybe they can help us. So we called and we said, can you teach attitude, self-image, goals, responsibility, leadership? Can you teach that? They said, sure, no problem. If you come here, we'll explain it to you. So we went there and they explained to us, they said, here's what you got to do. You got to dehypnotize your players. They are in a belief system and you've got to change that belief system. You got to change their self-image. You got to change the accepting of responsibility, leadership goals. He said, okay, how do you do that? I said, oh, it's really simple. If you're willing to give it 15 minutes a day, every day. Well, 15 minutes a day, every day was an enormous sacrifice. The UIL back then only gave you 50 minutes to work out in the off season. And our biggest rival was maybe 8 blocks away, so we couldn't cheat and go over that 50 minutes. So we were going to have to take 15 of that 50 minutes a day if we were going to do the mental training. He said, how you do it? They said, you don't preach to them, you teach. And we said, okay, how you do that? He said, it's real simple. Tell them a story. Everybody will listen to a story. And then give them questions to answer in writing. And then discuss the answers to those questions. We said, okay. So we went back and we talked to our head coach, Frank Arnold, and we said, here's what we want to do. He said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you 6 weeks. And if I don't see any improvement in 6 weeks, we're going to quit it. And we said, okay. We had one assistant coach that said, I'm not doing it. My job's to coach football. It ain't to be their parents. It's not to teach all this other stuff. I will do weightlifting and all that, but I'm not doing that stuff. And I'm not even coming in there when you two do it. I said, okay. So DW took a week, and then I'd take a week, and he'd take a week, and we'd get a story, and we'd find out, we'd research and find a story on responsibility, attitude, whatever it might be. At the end of 6 weeks, Coach Arnold didn't say anything. So we went in to see him, and we said, Coach, what do you think? He said, I think we're getting more done in 35 minutes than we were in 50 before. Keep doing it. 1982, we were 14-1. 1983, we won the Texas 5A state championship without any individual on either offense or defense weighing 200 pounds. So it wasn't the outside of us that was winning, it was the inside of us. The mental training. It's exactly what you're doing today. From that day forward, what we found out was the minute we quit trying to win football games and we started trying to make better people out of our players, we won more games than we ever dreamed possible. You want to win? Develop these qualities. You want happiness in your life? Develop these qualities. When you develop these qualities, you will be happier than you've ever been in your life. You will be more successful than you've ever been in your life. I may not have won every football game, but I never coached a football team that we didn't teach character to. And I believe we made a positive impact on every football team we coached. Learn to develop these characters. Make it a great day. See you tomorrow.